There is a particular kind of tension that settles over a country when it senses that something is about to change. Not the loud, dramatic tension of open confrontation, but the quieter, more unsettling kind. The kind that lives in pauses between statements, in the careful choreography of official movements, in the way certain names stop appearing in headlines even as they continue to dominate conversations in living rooms, offices, and markets across the nation. Nigeria is living in that tension right now. At the center of it is a name, Bello, that has come to mean far more than the person it describes. Over time, it has become a symbol of how long political situations in Nigeria can linger without resolution, a symbol of how power, when wielded with enough strategic unpredictability, can resist accountability far longer than it should, and perhaps most painfully, a symbol of how many times Nigerians have been brought to the edge of a resolution only to watch the moment pass without consequence. That pattern is exhausting, and it is important to name it honestly before claiming that this time is different, because Nigerians have heard that before. To understand why this moment carries such significance, you first have to understand what repetition does to a people's belief in change. Every cycle that ends without resolution does not simply reset the clock. It deposits something, a layer of skepticism, a quiet erosion of trust, a growing distance between citizens and the institutions that are supposed to deliver outcomes. After enough cycles, people stop watching for results and start watching for signs that the cycle is about to repeat itself. That is where Nigeria has been for too long with this situation. The updates came, the discussions followed, analysts weighed in, social media lit up, and then nothing. Or rather, not nothing, but not enough. Never enough to feel final, never enough to feel like a chapter had truly closed. This is not simply a political problem, it is a psychological one. A country that repeatedly witnesses accountability deferred begins to internalize a dangerous idea that certain people and certain situations are simply beyond resolution, that power, when held in the right hands, can outlast any pressure, that waiting is not a strategy, it is the only strategy available to those who want to avoid consequences. And yet, something does feel different now. It is difficult to point to one single development and say, this is the turning point. That is not how turning points actually work. They rarely announce themselves. They rarely arrive with clarity. More often, they are only visible in retrospect, when you look back and realize that what seemed like another routine update was actually the moment the tide shifted. What is visible now is not one dramatic event. It is an alignment, a convergence of factors that taken individually might mean very little, but taken together begin to form a recognizable shape. There is the silence. In political situations, silence is rarely empty. It is almost always full of preparation, full of decisions being made in rooms that are not yet visible to the public. The silence surrounding this situation has grown more deliberate, more controlled, less the silence of inaction, more the silence of something being carefully assembled. There is the shrinking of space. Politically and operationally, the room to maneuver in situations like this does not disappear overnight. It narrows gradually, through coordination between institutions, through the closing of routes that once remained conveniently open, through the slow reduction of options that seemed permanent. That narrowing, when it happens consistently and without reversal, is one of the clearest signs that momentum has genuinely shifted. And there is the coordination, perhaps the most telling signal of all. Situations like this one persist largely because different arms of power, political, legal, institutional, fail to move in the same direction at the same time. When they do begin to move together, even quietly, even without public fanfare, the effect is cumulative. Pressure that once dissipated begins to hold, and pressure that holds eventually produces outcomes. It would be dishonest to present only one view of where things stand. There are Nigerians, politically engaged, informed, paying close attention, who believe this is genuinely the moment, who look at the alignment of factors and see not coincidence but intention,
who believe that what is building right now will not quietly dissipate the way previous moments did. And there are equally informed Nigerians who remain unconvinced, who have seen too many turning points dissolve into familiar cycles, who have learned through hard experience to distrust the feeling that this time is different, who hold their hope at arm's length, not out of cynicism, but out of a very rational self-protection. Both perspectives are legitimate, both are rooted in evidence, and the uncomfortable truth is that neither can be definitively proven right yet, because we are not at the end of this story. We are somewhere in the middle, and the middle is always the most uncertain territory. What pressure actually looks like. One of the most important things to understand about political pressure in situations like this is that it rarely looks like what people expect. Popular imagination tends to picture pressure as loud, as protests, as headlines, as confrontations, and sometimes it is. But the pressure that actually produces outcomes is often far quieter. It is the slow closing of exits. It is the gradual reduction of allies willing to absorb risk on someone's behalf. It is the moment when the calculation of self-interest among those adjacent to power begins to shift, when protecting someone becomes more costly than distancing from them. That kind of pressure is hard to see in real time. It does not generate dramatic footage. It does not trend on social media. But it is often far more consequential than the noise that surrounds it, because it operates on the decision-making of those involved rather than on the perceptions of those watching. When that pressure reaches a certain threshold, things move quickly, not gradually, suddenly, faster than observers expect, faster sometimes even than those applying the pressure anticipated. That is the nature of systems under sustained strain. They hold and hold and hold, and then they don't. Nigeria is watching. The world, in its own way, is watching. And the next development, when it comes, will say something important, not just about one name, not just about one situation, but about what kind of country Nigeria is choosing to become.